Yeah. Well, musically, in terms of what led me ultimately to the mod scene, I guess would be I grew up when I was very little. My family listened to the Beatles. I was intrigued with Ringo Starr. My sisters were into the Rolling Stones. I became very interested in Charlie Watts. Obviously, I played some piano, but I was really interested in the drums. And in fact, the first drummer I really idolized, we were talking about this at rehearsal, was Gene Krupa of the Benny Goodman big band. So I was excited by drums of all kinds, but then I had this next door neighbor named Mark Fox, who I owe a lot to, who played guitar, and he said, "You've got to listen to the Who, and you've got to listen to the drummer." And as soon as I heard Keith Moon, I was completely all about Keith Moon. I'd never heard drumming like that. And then I was able to see some footage of him on TV, and it was just mind blowing. I sort of imbibed that image completely. And so I loved and with the Who, with the Beatles, I loved the kind of combination of melodic music with power behind it, particularly with the Who. You could play a lot of Pete Townsend songs in an orchestral setting or in a kind of more mellow arrangement, but the way they played it was this sort of beautiful chord changes, but with this intense energy behind it. So that sort of set the stage musically, and I was playing drums and driving my family crazy by then, and still appreciate the fact that they were willing to put up with that. Um, in high school, I had friends who got into the punk scene, which I sort of gravitated toward. And there were aspects of that I liked as well, the LA kind of hardcore scene. There were a couple of bands that interest me. There were some good musicians. There were some crappy musicians. But overall, it became kind of a bummer because it was always so cynical and negative and kind of, you know, violence was a big undercurrent of that scene. And so by the time I learned of the LA mod scene, and by the way, I was like Phil, I saw Quadrophenia when it came out, and I sat through it twice with my friend Ron, and we were blown away by it and intrigued by that scene. And of course, we already knew the music, but had no idea that that music told that specific story about that specific world and that kind of counterculture in England. And so the whole thing was amazing for us. It was like eye-opening.